money making art. Isn't it funny how hard it is to start making money making art? But you're not alone in the unknown of making money making art.
Hello, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel. And the incredible theme song you just heard was created by the wonderfully skilled and talented Micah Vidal for my podcast. No. Does the world necessarily need another podcast? No. Do I need to chat with artists about how they make their money, speak transparently about career opportunities, sort of share and confer and break some often unspoken rules? Yes. In fact, the start of every episode, the question opens with, how much money do you make from your creative endeavors? But I often find that we spiral and chat from there about a lot of common artist struggles with insecurity or imposter syndrome or figuring out how much to price your freelance business, which sort of career path you should take, how little time we have. Yes, before we get too much farther into this discussion slash me just sharing, I do want to bring your attention down below to a questionnaire that I have set up. I did a version of this for my patrons like a year and a half ago maybe, all about creativity and money, and I would love if you would take it and I could share the results. I have some questions about if you hope to make money from your writing someday, or if you'd prefer to keep it as a hobby, kind of what route are you hoping to go? Do you currently work in a creative capacity or in a creative field even if you're not in a creative position maybe? Also, how comfortable are you talking about money with strangers, with close friends, with co-workers or colleagues or other artists, and a bunch of others. So I would love to know. I will of course share the results. Yes. And as the title of the podcast and this video is making money making art, I of course had to pay Micah for creating the theme song that I now sing constantly just around the house, annoying the boyfriend. Micah even made a vlog about the creation, about the, you know, getting my email and brainstorming and coming up with the theme song, the recording, the editing, the mixing. Very cool. I will leave that link down below too. But she was also my most recent guest. And if you've already heard of Micah, you'll know that she is creating and documenting her process of writing a musical from the very first kernel of the idea to submitting it to competitions and contests, using the people in her stream as sort of like a sounding board for the first time, testing out if things land or not. Very cool. I have learned so much more about the performance arts and what it's like to not be done with something until it's performed. Even as a writer, if you're doing stuff, oh gosh, I realized that actually book writing is a pretty quick process in comparison to some things. Her mission is to make theater more accessible from the inside out, which I just think is phenomenal. And we also talked about what it's like to work as an audio editor, a podcast editor professionally as a freelance thing, and how she prices her freelance gigs or charges for theme songs. How do you figure that out? Even a bit about how she pitched her favorite podcast to ultimately become their editor, which I just think is so cool. I also in chapter 6. I guess I could have called them chapters. I also in episode 6 chatted with Charlotte And, who is a trad pub author published with Harlequin Australia for her Regency romance novel. She was actually in the middle of a sort of submission limbo when we chatted, so it was a very vulnerable spot for her to be in because she had submitted the next book to her publisher but had no idea if it would be picked up. Spoiler alert, it was, which is so exciting. So it was really nice to get to pick her brain during that time. We also chatted about the importance of building community in your specific genre spaces and how the Australian market is quite small and sort of what considerations you take into for your career from that. We also chatted about applying to contests. She's convinced me to apply to some more contests because that's how her publisher found her. And we also chatted about posting a novel for free on Wattpad. She has hundreds of thousands of reads, and it's a question of at what point in your career do you kind of decide to continue posting for free? Do you do it only once? Would you do it again? It was very interesting. And hold on to the Wattpad thing because we're gonna come back to that. And episode 5, yes, I am just taking you through the episode. In episode 5, I did the first solo show where I chatted about this conundrum that has been ruminating in my brain about content versus art. And if in our digital age and the rise of social media, if those two are even different or what the difference might be. And as part of that conversation, I share my 2021 revenue statistics from YouTube. And Wattpad's coming back around because in episode 4, I chatted with Wattpad star Auburn Morrow. We talked about what it's like to be paid to write online, something that she was doing for free before, what her exclusivity agreement with Wattpad looked like, as she couldn't talk about specific numbers, but she did get to talk about, kind of take us through the process and kind of the bonuses she gets for being a Wattpad exclusive author. Like she got sponsored opportunities with really big companies to write. It's so cool. And in general, chatted over her career trajectory and some of her goals, and I didn't even know this avenue really existed. We also talked about imposter syndrome a lot, in part because, you know, the amount of reach she has on her stories can fill stadiums, multiple stadiums, and it's wild, right? In the most incredible way, but that does kind of breed this feeling of imposter syndrome, and how we talk over how Auburn is facing that head on. Or perhaps spiraling, as we're all wont to do. In episode 3, I chatted with Kindle Vella faved author Kitty Gulick on why she thinks that everyone should be writing serials, or at least try them. And she fully broke down the payouts and bonuses from Vella, which was very cool to hear. And we chatted over what it's like when there's a bit of like a crabs in a bucket mentality from other authors, but then conversely, how to lift other authors up. She told a story about how she once had to fire herself from an editing gig, which I thought was very funny. And we also ruminated over the ethics of being an editor, when you need to fire yourself, when you need to not take clients on, just in general with freelance. You know, you can price yourself really high if you don't want to take something on, but someone's kind of willing to pay it and you're like, okay, I guess I'll figure it out. So there's a lot of different things there. This is also within about her first year of working as an editor. So also kind of how you price yourself when you're starting out, what you do when you start to get repeat clients and things like that. So just figuring out what it's like to start a business, frankly. In episode 2, I chatted with Haley Haggerty about what it was like to sell her first play during the pandemic and getting to watch that performance over Zoom. We also chatted quite a bit about how COVID has affected the performing arts world. And as her day job and several of her internships were in sort of these artistic fields, she also shared a lot of resources that I didn't know existed, and that are available to people as artists. A big portion of her episode was also talking about how you juggle social media and how you balance your time creating for social media, but also creating the art project. Especially sometimes getting eyes on the project can be as hard as the project itself, right? And in episode 1, something that has stuck with me since I first interviewed Gigi Huntley over a year ago was about making our own art too precious. We debate if art is in general meant to be shared. We talk about why we're too scared to show some art to the world, but not as scared to show others. Gigi has a thing where she's posting a painting a day to her Instagram, which is phenomenal. But also talked about how sometimes sharing her writing can be very scary. So why is she okay with one, but not as much the other? We also talked about the importance of carving out a physical space to create your art and what it's like to have her own salon and some of the numbers from that business, but also being in the business of, you know, helping people to create an ideal version of themselves, you know, what they want to represent to the world, and then to go home and create some more. So anyways, it's just been so much fun to speak with all of these people, with all of these artists. You know, streams have helped me a lot, not just within the pandemic, but I think like something I will continue doing forward, because writing can be a very solitary task, a very solitary hobby. And streams have helped me not feel alone while doing that. But my vlogs and YouTube channel are often just focused on my own progress and my own journey, and it's been nice to be able to chat in depth with people about their journeys and their projects and their goals. And I have learned so much from everyone that I've already gotten to interview. I can't wait to keep doing this. So now, if you see me including the recording or editing in vlogs, you will know what's up. And thank you in advance if you filled out the form about creativity and money. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for my patrons who have known about this goal for a hot minute, and also for always being my OG testers. And thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month: Naomi Park, Rose Carson, Molly Gore, Artie Kupor, and Elena Williams. And I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye!